Now let's set aside everything but this trapezoid. So we'll set aside these two triangles and this triangle, and what we have left here is our trapezoid. Notice that my trapezoid has two acute angles and it has two obtuse angles. We're going to fold this so that these two acute angles fold onto each other, or the vertices of the two are on each other, and we will simply make a fold. And again, after I make my fold, I get a trapezoid. Remember, we talked about an isosceles trapezoid earlier. This one isn't isosceles. This trapezoid has an acute angle, an obtuse angle, and two right angles. If we unfold it, of course, we can draw the line, fold line, and you can see that when I cut this, what I'm going to have is two of those trapezoids. And by the way, these two trapezoids are congruent, aren't they? I can put one on top of the other and it fits perfectly. These two trapezoids are congruent. I had to turn this one over to make that happen, but they are congruent. So let's set aside one of these trapezoids. We'll come back to it in just a minute, and we'll focus on this one. What we want to do is again make a fold. This time we're going to fold this acute angle onto this right angle, and we will make the fold. Let me turn it toward myself so that I can fold it more easily. And we make the fold, and look at what we get, a little square. When we unfold, we have another triangle, a smaller one, but it's going to be the same shape as those other triangles we had. It's a right isosceles triangle, and we'll cut along this fold line, and there we have the square and the right isosceles triangle. We'll set this aside and we'll bring back the trapezoid, the other trapezoid. This time we're going to make a fold. Notice that the obtuse angle is opposite a right angle. Last time we folded the acute angle onto the right angle. This time we're going to fold the obtuse angle onto that right angle. And when we make that fold, you'll see that what we get is a parallelogram. When I unfold, I see the, let's draw that fold line again. You see that what I have here is a right isosceles triangle and a parallelogram. We'll cut along this line. Let's bring back that square, or a copy of a square that we started with, just so that we have it out in front of us, and we can remember that we have just now cut a whole bunch of pieces. Most of them were triangles, but other shapes as well. Remember, we had a parallelogram here. We also had a square. We also had a medium-sized triangle, and we had two larger triangles. 7 pieces that we were able to fold and cut out of this square. 5 of these triangles are, or 5 of these pieces rather, are triangles. These 2 are congruent. This triangle is not congruent to these, but it is similar to these 2. These 2 smaller triangles are congruent to each other, and they're similar to all of these other triangles. And we have a square, and we have a parallelogram. 7 pieces that we've been able to cut out of this square. Now remember, earlier we paused for a little bit of review and we put the pieces that we had cut so far together to form a square. Let's see if we can do that again. Let's put these pieces back together to see if we can form a square. Remember, these 2 came out of a triangle, didn't they? So how about that? Remember that triangle? Then we had this medium-sized triangle. It actually came off of here, and right through here we had that trapezoid. So let's build that trapezoid back. This is how I remember, or how I think about putting this puzzle together. We'll put this triangle here, and the parallelogram there, and voila, I have my square back. What we've just done is the first part of a puzzle called the Tangram puzzle. The Tangram puzzle essentially gives you these 7 pieces and asks, can you put those pieces together to form a square? And we just did. But there are other shapes that you can make with that, and let's just play around with this a little bit. What if I took, let's move these pieces around a little bit. I'm going to move this up. What if we took this triangle and we took this piece and put it here, and we put this piece here? I get a rectangle. Remember, we had a square, now we have a rectangle. How about if I take this piece, I'll move this over so you can see it, and I put it here, and I have a parallelogram. Square, rectangle, parallelogram. And what if I just turn this over and I have a trapezoid, actually an isosceles trapezoid? And one more thing, if I would take this triangle and move it over here, I have one large right isosceles triangle. So those are some of the pieces that can be made out of these 7 what we call Tangram puzzle pieces. There are lots of other shapes that you can make as well, and maybe we'll talk about that later. Now that you've viewed this video, how about getting your own sheet of paper and replaying the video? Stop it occasionally so that you can follow along with the folding and unfolding and cutting. And so when you finish viewing the video this second time, you'll have your own set of puzzle pieces.